Okay, so good morning, everyone. Ani Bojo, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Kara. I am a program coordinator with the IPHCC, or the Indigenous Primary Healthcare Council. And so a little bit about us. We are an Indigenous governed, culture-based, and Indigenous informed organization with the mandate to support the advancement and evolution of Indigenous primary healthcare services throughout Ontario. So we work with 23 Indigenous healthcare organizations across the province and to help address the physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being of First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples and communities being served. And so our guest today guides, educates, empowers, and encourages people to actively engage in the reconciliation process. And so without further delay, the IPHCC is proud to introduce you to Sandy Boucher. And she is a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. Sandy is internationally recognized as an engaging speaker, a traditional knowledge keeper, and a best-selling author, beginning her speaking career in 2009 after the launch of her first book, Honorary Indian. And since then, her team has now laser focused on healing both sides of the eagle feather, as she so often refers to. And Sandy uses Anishinaabe teachings, metaphors, stories, cartoons, infectious humor, and wisdom to build an understanding of and respect for Indigenous people she calls family, friends, and colleagues. And so the IPHCC wanted to take the time today to explore with Sandy maintaining mental wellness as we assist our own to heal. So an Indigenous lens, leaning on Indigenous teachings as reminders and life preservers for those who see the devastation of colonialism and oppression and what is done to our own on an ongoing basis. So please join me in welcoming Sandy Chi-miigwech for joining us today, and I'll pass it over to you now.
Awesome, Miigwech. It's so funny when you read out my bio. I've had that bio for years. I don't tend to reference it often. Why would I? But when you listed off the metaphors and the cartoons and the humor, I was like, all of that is in today's presentation. That's awesome. I am going to give everyone a heads up. I do use a PowerPoint presentation. I know you can all groan now. Get it out of your system. It's because so many Indigenous people I've met, like me, are visual learners. So I find when I'm explaining something, if there's a picture to back it up, it makes it easier for you to remember. And this entire event is for you, not for me. So hopefully you enjoy the presentation. So as mentioned, as Kara did such a wonderful job introducing me, my name is Sandy Boucher. Mishko Paganankwe Nadishnakas Mangnodem. I'm a proud member of Seine River First Nation, and the translation of my spirit name is Red Thunderbolt Woman, and I happen to be a proud member of the Loon clan. I have been doing this type of work. I am now in my 15th year. I have the honor and the privilege of traveling across Canada, live or virtually, working a lot in First Nation communities. And then over the last 6 years, I do an equal amount of work with non-Indigenous entities, whether it's colleges, universities, hospitals, clinics, museums. I have 3 different municipalities I'm on retainer with. So if something happens, or preferably before it happens, they can give me a call. And every audience is just such an amazing opportunity to learn and grow and share together. But today's presentation really meant a lot to me, because I'd be willing to bet every single one of you is exceptional at going the extra mile to help people. We don't go into, you do not go into the type of work you do to become a millionaire, because unfortunately that's not going to happen. You go in because you want to make a difference, because you care about the people you serve. And those reasons are the exact reasons I do the work I do, even though it's entirely different and probably a lot less challenging than the work you do. Now, I wanted to share this slide with you because my spirit name, Mishko Paganonque, I'm said to represent that split second in time when the thunder sounds exactly as the lightning strikes. And in Ontario, we have thunderstorms. And hopefully you realize or you've been taught that when these two things happen together, that means the storm is directly overhead. The greater the time between the lightning and the thunder, the further away the storm is. I share this with you because I'm not known for being subtle. I'm the lightning bolt moment. I'm that aha moment. I'm that one sentence that suddenly brings you clarity. But I do like to explain to people that even though I can be very direct and very blunt, like a lot of Anishinaabe I know, I never do it to be disrespectful. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I do it to be respectful of the fact that we have such a short period of time together. And I want to share some things with you that are hopefully going to help you long after this session is done. I do love the fact that it's being recorded, so hopefully you'll have the opportunity if you want to reflect on anything I shared today. It's kind of like going back to the elder to hear the story again. I am not an elder, but hopefully what I share with you today will be of value to you. So come on. Now, today is all about good medicine. You didn't realize that until you showed up here, but now you know. That's kind of the behind the scenes theme for today. And in line with good medicine, I like to start all my keynotes and workshops and seminars with what I call the 4 thank yous. It's my way of honoring the 4 sacred medicines, the 4 directions, the 4 life stages, the 4 colors of man, all of the teachings that are encapsulated in the medicine wheel teachings. So I just wanted to run through these quickly just because I believe it really grounds us and puts us in a good place. So the first thank you, we're not going to go backwards. Come on now. PowerPoint being silly. Okay, we'll try it this way. There. Okay. The first thank you is to Creator, God, higher power, the universe, Dr. Phil, Oprah. I don't care who you go to for your teachings. That's none of my business. That's totally up to you. If it works for you, all the power to you. But I happen to be one of those people that believe without a doubt that everything happens for a reason, which means if you can hear my voice right now, then something's going to be said today that you need to hear. That's going to help you, whether it's professionally, personally, or both. Now, I am definitely not egotistical enough to think it is definitely going to be something I say because I'm all that in a bag of chips and you should just sit there and listen. That's not it at all. It might be one of the questions that are asked at the end of the session or the answer or a sharing or whatever the case may be. But as always, the challenge in whatever we do every single day is to stay here. And what I mean by that is it's so easy to get lost in thinking about whatever happened yesterday or what you're going to have to do after this session is over. But when we let our mind wander off, we miss all the supports and clues and hints that Creator's trying to send us right here and right now. So I never want you to beat yourself up, but if you notice your mind wandering, please come back as soon as you can. I want to make sure that you get absolutely everything you can out of the session today. Now, the second thank you is to the organizers. Anyone who does event planning knows, and Kara's here today, there's 5,000 emails, text messages, links that got to be sent out. I always say my job's the easy one. I show up, I talk, I leave. That's pretty basic. But thank you so much to the planning. Without you guys, I literally could not do what I do. So thank you. The third thank you is a teaching that comes directly from my mom. Now, my mom used to always say that as we go about our lives, we have to take time to say thank you to those that came before. All of those men and women that helped us get to this age and stage of our lives. And we all know those people that love to say, I did it all on my own. And to them, I say, baloney. Because at some point in time, someone was changing your diaper. Someone was feeding you because you couldn't hold the spoon yet. Someone was talking you into going to bed or trying to talk you into getting out of bed. Someone was talking you into going to school. Someone took a chance and gave you a job. Someone took a chance and decided they wanted to be your friend. So to all of those people that helped us get here, this is our chance to say thank you. Now, the fourth thank you is the one I still lose sleep over, and I hope that never changes. And that's because the fourth thank you is to each and every one of you. Because when I do one of these events, I always think the same thing. You are giving me something absolutely priceless. 1 hour out of your life journey. The reality is none of us are going to get to do this time over. There's no mulligans. We don't get to try again. So when I design a speech, a workshop, a seminar, whatever it is, that's the bar I set for myself. It has to be worth their time. I don't ever want anyone leaving one of my sessions going, well, I'm never going to get that time back, like you do at the end of a lousy movie. And I have a really good track record so far, so you should be safe. But this is so important to me that at the end of today, I will ask you if it's worth your time. Okay? So now we're going to jump into why we're here. And I do have to take you on a little journey. And we got to start and look at Canadian history. And don't panic, we're talking like 4 slides. It's not going to be long, but it's just going to remind us of how we got here. So first and foremost, if there's one thing that I find incredibly heartbreaking as I go across the country, is that so many people, Indigenous and non, do not realize that before the settlers got here, we all belong to functioning societies. That our First Nations communities, we had justice systems, we had medical systems, we had education systems, we had all of the systems you see in mainstream, except they looked entirely different. Because of that, the people that arrived didn't realize what was going on. So we know how to do this. Mainstream, it's nice to have partners. It's nice to have a different worldview, but we know how to take care of our own, as every single one of you prove. But we're going to focus in on the First Nations communities for a second. This has got a serious Ojibwe slant to this cartoon, as you can tell. It's not one of the Iroquois longhouses, but definitely showing my background here. We had the First Nation communities and then the settlers arrived. But what we need to understand is when they arrived, what affected what they saw was what is known as cultural lens. And this is so much easier for me to explain to people now that I'm old enough to have to wear glasses. The reality is the cultural lens you look through shapes how you interpret things. It's made up of everything you've seen, experienced, been taught, whatever the case may be. I will always look at things as Anishinaabe. That is my lens. It's totally different from a white male raised in Southern Ontario. Neither one of us are wrong. And in fact, if we share our stories with each other, we can realize when our cultural lens is getting us to misinterpret something, we can actually learn to come together. So let's look at that little First Nation community for a moment. And as we mentioned, the settlers arrived. This is my version of the settlers. I don't know what you think of when you think of the settlers. This is what I think of. Now, imagine this little settler dude started walking through an Anishinaabe community. He's looking around and suddenly he stops. Oh my God, there is no town hall. These people don't govern themselves. Well, if he had looked in the biggest teepee, he would have seen the council sitting around in a circle discussing what the community is going to do. But that wasn't his cultural lens. So the misconception was set and he continued through the community. Walked a little bit further, looked around. Oh my God, there is no school. These people do not educate their children. He was looking for the tiny building with the pointy roof with the grumpy lady at the front. That's not what he found. So again, he made that assumption and he kept going. There is no jail here. These people don't govern themselves. There's no law. They're lawless. Again, a misconception. And then the one that went on to decimate our communities, there is no church. These people have no spirituality. For that reason, and so many others, it was decided that anything to do with First Nation culture or teachings should be eliminated or ignored. And in many ways, that's when the oppression of Indigenous peoples truly began. Over time, for any person that belongs to an oppressed group, that oppression becomes internalized. And in my opinion, that's when it gets really scary. So just to review some terminology here, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Prejudice, we know, is a preconceived notion. It's what people think of Indigenous people or Black people or newcomers or whatever the case may be, often without ever having met that person. It's the thought in their head, that preconceived notion. Do Indigenous people suffer because of prejudice? Absolutely. Discrimination is the next level. It's when you take those preconceived notions and put them into action. This is, I don't want to be your friend because you're Indigenous, or I don't want to hire you, or if I do, I'm going to expect less from you because, you're Indigenous. Do we suffer because of discrimination? Every single day. Oppression, I like to think of, is discrimination on steroids. It's when the discrimination is either accepted by society as a whole, sanctioned by the government, or both. The fact that our children in remote communities still have to leave home and live with strangers to go to school is an example of modern day oppression. It only happens to Indigenous youth. The fact that we have communities in Canada still under decade-long boil water advisories is another example. That would not happen in a municipality. That's oppression. And then when you internalize it, this is when a member of an oppressed group, a group that's been oppressed for a long time, starts to believe the stereotypes. They start to believe that Indigenous people can't do this or can't do that. There's two ways internalized oppression gets to you. It's either the voice in your head saying, I could never graduate from university. There's no way I could get a degree. I know many, many people that prove that wrong, but if that's the voice in your head, that's a mountain you have to overcome. And for many people, they make it past the voice in their head, and then they run into the voice of others, the other members of the group. Why do you think you can go to university? Do you honestly think you're going to graduate? So-and-so tried. They weren't able to do it. And what about the people here? Are you better than us now because you're all educated? You're just going to leave and forget about us? That's the voice of internalized oppression from the group. And that's what Indigenous people in Canada are battling every single day. And we have to remember that, because it's so tempting to judge the end result. We forget about the cause. What I'm talking about here is the fact that this is well documented, that there are three natural human reactions to either oppression or internalized oppression or both. And I would bet everything I have that you see all three on any given day. Maybe one more than the other, maybe two more than the other, but you've seen all three. The first one, when it seems like the entire world is telling you you're less than, at some point, for many people, they lash out. That you can't talk to me like that. I'm not putting up with this. They know they're angry. They're just not sure why. They do not realize it's the environment they're in. And unfortunately, it's really hard to hit the oppressor, the federal government. So they lash out against their partner, their children, fellow community members, or the people in the municipality nearby. Now, obviously, this is not desirable, but it is most definitely understandable. Now, for many people, they think this is the worst one. As an Anishinaabe, as an Ojibwe female in Canada, it's actually the next one that scares the daylights out of me. And I know you deal with this. That's acquiescence, the really fancy way of saying giving up. This is the person that says, why bother taking my blood reading? Yeah, I have diabetes. Everybody does. Why should I care about what I eat? I'm going to end up with high blood pressure anyways. Why should I bother going to the doctor? They're just going to give me a lecture and talk down to me. That's the voice of acquiescence. That's someone at risk of giving up. And those are the people we have to surround and love them back to health. Judgment is not the way to go. Now, there is a third natural human reaction, and it's the one I'm pushing to people towards every single day because it's nonviolent resistance. This is the student. This is, by the way, every single one of you, if you're Indigenous, deciding, you know what, I'm not going to be the stereotype. I am going to go to school and I am going to get a degree. I am going to break free of poverty and create a different future for my family. I am going to continue caring about my people, but I don't need to be locked in poverty to do it. Every single time a high school student, an Indigenous student graduating from high school, we have to start celebrating that as the mountain they have climbed. That's not just a graduation. That is them fighting against that voice in their head and the voice in the communities that said they could never do it. And they did it. That's the three natural human reactions. So here is our stereotypical Indigenous dude, and he's getting affected, the pressures of prejudice. And then we got discriminations, kind of making him feel a little bit smaller. His voice, he's not speaking quite as loud. We got oppression pushing in on him and internalized oppression. And suddenly he's that person that doesn't speak up and doesn't look you in the eyes. And everyone wants to say that's a cultural thing. Yeah, but what culture are you talking about? It's way more an environmental thing. But he can choose. He can lash outwards with the violence. He can definitely still feels the pressure of acquiescence weighing down on him. But if he chooses nonviolent resistance, that's him inside changing the voice in his head because it is changeable, and taking outward actions, going to school, daring to bid for that job because he doesn't want to disappear and become that small, silent little person. And I'd be willing to bet none of what I just shared is new to you because every single one of you has a front row seat watching this every single day and feeling it because these are your family members and your community members. This is not something from a distance. So I really wanted to focus on what helps. What can you do? Not helping them. You know how to help them. I'm not going to teach you that. You already know that. But what can you do that's going to help you? Now, I'm going to lean hard on my teachings today because I think that's where the root of so much of our strength is. But I wanted to start off first with an example or a teaching I use in all of my seminars. And I call it the feather teaching. And we all know there's many, many feather teachings out there. But I was taught that any single time you're in a conversation or a relationship of any kind with anyone, the feather teaching applies. That half of the feather represents me, and the other half of the feather represents you. And if we actually talk and listen to each other, we can create an incredibly strong feather. But if I start telling you how to behave on your side of the feather, I have crossed the line. And unfortunately, what I see in my work is way too many non-Indigenous people want to race in and help Indigenous people, but they're not doing the work on their side of the feather. And we know that the absolute worst, the racists, the people that attack us, are not in our communities. They're actually in the cities. They're in the non-Indigenous population. That's where we need our allies to do the work. Because what you need to remember is your power is always on your side of the feather. As soon as you catch yourself saying or thinking, if only they would do this, you're on the wrong side of the feather. I hope that makes sense. What I'm talking about is the fact that responsibility is the antidote for helplessness. So if you're watching people and you're doing everything you can and it doesn't seem to be making a difference, and you're now getting caught in that wheel of if only they would do this, for one, stop yourself as soon as you hear that. And then simply ask yourself, what can I do? Can I change the way I explain it? Can I reach out more? Can I use cartoons? Can we meet in a different place? Maybe they don't like coming to the clinic or hospital. What could I do that would help get the message across? When it's what can I do, the responsibility, you're on your side of the feather, and that's where your power is. That's the serenity prayer, right? Except the things you cannot change. You can't control what happens on the other side of the feather. Ask any parent of any teenager or any married person for that matter. This is very directly related to what I call the back-to-back teaching. Now, my mom used to literally make me and my brother do this in the middle of the living room when we were teenagers. She'd get us to stand back to back and get us each to look around the room. And then she would remind us that both of us could see so much of the room, but there was one part we were completely blind to. And that part happened to be directly in front of the other person. This is simply a reminder that no matter how much your patients or your community members share with you, you can't see the entire picture of what they're dealing with. You can't literally walk in their shoes. So even if something looks obvious to you, maybe they can't see it. Maybe they don't understand why whatever you want them to do is important. Maybe they don't believe that change is possible, because there's a really good chance acquiescence is affecting them. Now, my mom, this is my mommy, proud member from Couchiching First Nation, and we're going to totally ignore the 80s hair I'm rocking in this picture. And if you do notice it, we're going to pretend this picture was taken in the 1980s, because it absolutely wasn't, but whatever. My mom used to have a story that she told, or a question she asked, that has stayed with me for my entire life. And I lost mom in 2005, so we're coming up on 20 years ago. She used to say that when you see someone taking an action that you would never take, you think that action is absolutely dangerous or silly or whatever the case may be, instead of judging them, ask yourself, how tired would I have to be? How overwhelmed would I have to be? How isolated would I have to feel? How scared would I have to be to make that decision look like a good idea? In my mom's opinion, asking that question puts you a lot closer to understanding their journey than judgment ever will. The reality is our communities are struggling, and we have amazing programs that try to deal with the struggle, but we got to spend a lot of time, a lot more time discussing what's poisoning our communities. It's not the people, it's the environment. You don't, what is that? If a flower doesn't bloom, you don't blame the flower, you change the environment. We can change the environment. We're not going to stop the oppression and the discrimination. That's on the other side of the feather, but we can change what we feed our communities. We can help our people heal like you do every single day. We can act as allies to each of them, act out against oppression rather than each other, take pride in who we are and demonstrate that for people. We can protect the children and the next generation, and we can find our voices and speak up. But now this one I received from another elder, Elsie Quandabins, who we just lost last year. And she used to tell me to imagine there was a wall that extended across Canada, about the height of a table, wide enough and strong enough you can get up and dance on it if you want to. She asked me to imagine that Indigenous peoples of all types lived on one side of the wall and the non-Indigenous people lived on the other. And that there were people like me, and maybe even some people like you, who are able to get up and dance on the wall. We can jump off in the middle of Toronto or in the middle of Sandy Lake, and we know how to conduct ourselves and be respectful. We know how to dance on the wall. The people we work with are the people touching the wall. They want to get up there and dance. They want that confidence, but they're lacking information. And if we share our knowledge and our wisdom with them, then they can be dancing on the wall. But the most important part is to remember that on both sides of the wall, there are people so far away from the wall, they don't even believe it's possible to work together. And you recognize them because they say things like, why bother? Why bother working with mainstream? They're never going to accept us. Why bother working with Indigenous people? They're never going to get it together. The point is, if you take all of your energy and try to work with those people that are so far away from the wall, you're not going to change anything, and all you're going to do is exhaust yourself. Focus on supporting the people that are ready to hear what you have to say. Trust that when you help them, they get up on the wall gets wider, and it will attract more people. Help who you can. Law of attraction here. Because way too many people don't yet realize what it feels like to be Indigenous in Canada. And for so many of us, we feel like that bird, constantly being looked down on, constantly being judged, sometimes even by our own. And this is what we can change. But we have to remember some things. I know all of this. I'm certain some of you, maybe some of you are thinking, I know all of this, but there is no but. That's what I want you to remember. There is only the humility teachings. We need to remember that we don't know the demons they're dancing with, whether it's in their present life or the memories that they're trying to run from. It's all one big puzzle, as my mom would say, but we can add in the essential puzzle pieces they need if we remember that humility builds bridges and ego destroys them. If we remember to meet them where they are and go on a journey with them, don't sit separate in judgment, but walk with them, and every baby step counts. If we can remember that you have to take care of yourself, you have to show them they're valuable by treating yourself as valuable. My mom used to always say, teach them how to treat you. You want people to be kinder to you, they need to see you being kind to you so they can replicate it. You want respect from people, they need to see you respecting yourself. And if you want them to honor your boundaries, you have to. You have to take care of yourself, and you have to practice good medicine. And we know what that is. You got to spend as much time in the bush as you absolutely can, and as much time in community with family laughing, because laughter is amazingly good medicine. I wanted to just leave you with this thought today. If you're not sure why you're here or how you fit in, look at the things you've healed from. You figured out how to do it. Teach others how, because those people you can't seem to reach, it might just be that they don't know what the next step is. Thank you so, so much for listening to me today. I truly hope this was worth your time. Ta-da! We are going to have time for questions. There's Kara. I was just going to say, where'd Kara go? She's here somewhere.
I am back.
You are back.
Yeah, thank
So
you
what did you
so
think,
much.
Kara?
Oh, all I read in your bio, it said informative, insightful, inspirational, and I just like that's just exactly like how to describe it.
Awesome.
Especially I turned my camera off because I kept writing things down. But just how you reminded us, like where we came from and tied it in. And the way you talked about internalized depression just kind of
Yeah.
resonated with me. And hearing it being put into words,
Yeah.
was really something that I needed. And I'm sure we all need to be reminded sometimes that there's also those things going on internally,
Yeah.
that can, the oppression is internal also. And yeah, it was just, yeah, I really, really enjoyed this past 40 minutes with you, Miigwech.
Awesome. Ashley, I see your comment and thank you so much. My mom was adamant about that. And nowadays, oh, this is going to be a lightning bolt moment. So hang on to your chair for a second. When I'm in First Nation communities, often I hear people, and complaining is probably not the right word because it is definitely justified, but they're talking about how Canada treats Indigenous people and how that is still so problematic. And I totally 110% agree with them. The problem is, I meet way too many people that are waiting for Canada to get it together, for Canada to change how they treat us. And I can hear my mom screaming in my head right now because she's going, no, you got to teach them how to treat you. Stop waiting, start teaching. And what I often ask those communities, I literally have a magic wand I travel with because I'm totally into props and cartoons and things. And I ask them, if I waved a magic wand and Canadians as a whole magically started treating you like you treat each other in this community, would that be an improvement? And they tend to go quiet. And it's like, exactly. Don't wait for them to do what we haven't done yet. We can teach them how, but it starts with us. The power's on our side of the feather. Chantel, hearing if you want people to be kind to you, you need to be kind to you, because a lot of time I forget that. That's because you're in healthcare and you guys are amazing. And yes, you forget that. And think my kindness just needs to be external, and I forget to have internal kindness in the sense of taking that time to have that break. If there's one thing, and I have to thank Elsie, my elder, for this, the reprogramming of the voice in your head. I didn't mention it in the presentation, but like so many Indigenous women, I'm a 10-year domestic abuse survivor. And Elsie knew that after that relationship ended, it's not like the abuse stopped because the voice in my head was still saying all those horrific things I heard. And so one day she got mad at me. And I don't know if you've ever had an elder get mad at you, but it's the scariest thing that could ever happen. It's like you pay attention. And she got mad. She slammed her hand on the kitchen table, which got my attention. And she said, okay, I need you to do something starting right now for the next like 4 days. And it's like, oh no, I know I'm not going to like this. It's never something easy. And what she said was, every single time that voice in your head says something nasty to you, I need you to tell it to shut up out loud, as if some ignorant person said that to you. So I'm starting to think now people are going to think I have a mental health issue going on because I'm going to be walking down the street, talking to myself, telling myself to shut up. This is not going to look good. She knew exactly what she was doing, as our elders do. I was at her place for another 2 hours after that. I couldn't believe how often I had to say, shut up. And that was her point. When you start paying attention to how you talk to yourself, you can change it. I don't say those things anymore. Now I say things like, wow, Sandy, that was like your 5th typo in a row. Maybe it's a break time, maybe, or you're rushing. Maybe you need to go get some food. That sounded kind of grumpy. Those are kindness to ourselves, right? We're going to stop the criticism. Humility creates bridges, ego destroys them. 100%. 100%. Being impeccable with our words to others and to ourselves, so important. I would take impeccable out of that. Honestly, Amanda, it's not about perfection ever. It's about honesty, authenticity, and bravery. Share, I don't know what to do here. Like, I want to help you so much, but I don't know how to get you to change what you're doing. And it's not about the proper words, it's the authenticity that resonates. We got to throw perfection out the window because that's assimilation, that's colonialism, and focus on going back to being real with each other, even when it's just to say, I have no idea. Someone has their hand up. Mary Jo has her hand up.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that, Sandy. Yes, I put on my video. Hang on, let me put my hand down because I might forget to put it down later. So I just want to share that part of the internal, that feeling you get and that giving up So
Yeah.
not a counselor, what do you call that, on paper,
Yeah.
but I'm a helper. I'm a daughter, a sister, a mother, a wife, a grandmother, an auntie, you know? So when knowing I wasn't taking care of myself,
Mhm.
but not realizing it until I got,
Yeah.
and when I got really sick, the my spirit had to tell me it's time. It's time for you, Mary Jo, just to take care of yourself. And using Western medicine and also traditional medicine
Mhm.
helped me get to where I am today. So all what you've presented today, yes, I know all that stuff. But the practice on a daily basis,
Yeah.
like, because on a daily basis we have that negativity brought into a conversation, and or even a thought in our head, I
Yeah.
can't do this. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And then transferring that to our children and to our grandchildren, because it's all something we've I want to say been born with, because that's what our parents and grandparents and so forth have lived through, and now we're living through it. I want to say, as an individual, to make that change, it starts within, right, within your own spirit, and to acknowledge and say, I love you, Mary Jo. I love you, as that spirit within. And then that gives me I want to say the power to
Yeah.
create change,
Yeah.
not only for myself but for my immediate family, and then that change within later on community, because I don't own it. I don't own what's going on in the community. I can only own what's happening with me. So maybe that's what I wanted to say.
Yes, yes, yes. The analogy I always use is we all cook these amazing meals okay, I don't cook. Other women are amazing at cooking, and guys too. And it's every ingredient, every dish that comes together that makes that feast. Like you said, it starts with you and then it becomes the community. But so many people are starting with the community, and it's like, no, we got to heal the people, right? We got to take the time to hear each other. And thank you so much for sharing. That was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, health health is one of those things you can only ignore for so long, and then it goes, excuse me, knock, knock. Right? I hear
Yeah,
you.
thank you for listening. Thank you.
Awesome. Miigwech. Ashley, I'm an anti-human trafficking liaison worker. Wow, does that fit on a business card? I am building this program up from the ground. There's a lot of little points that will stick with me. Empowering women is a big part of this program. Awesome. Chi Miigwech. Healing starts in the hands of the women. I've heard elders say that for so long. When we start respecting our women, we teach Canada how. And like Mary Jo said, we inherited this, but our parents, I believe, you may or may not like this because it doesn't sound very positive, but I think it's realistic. Indigenous people are flowers trying to grow in soil doused in gasoline. And we need to realize that, and we need to take the steps to get ourselves to better soil, which means finding the people that believe in us, getting the education we need, realizing the challenges we're facing. And if we get tired, that's okay. When I work with the youth, our youth get slammed for playing video games all the time. I just don't look at them that way. I tell the kids, you know what, that mindset you use to beat this video game, apply that to life and nothing can stop you. Because you watch them play the video game. They get beat up by the big boss or whatever the first time and their character dies. What do? They try again and again and again. They go to the next level, knowing the next level is going to be even harder, and they want to do it until they win. If we just did the same thing in real life, you're going to try it the first time. Guess what? It's probably not going to work because it's your first time. Try again. Try again. You failed at that skill, keep going. Try again until you got it. Then go to the next level. Don't get comfy. Don't stay where you are. Go to the next level because people need you here. That's why Creator sent you here, right? Yes. Video game mentality. Awesome. Before I run out of time, was it worth your time, guys? Can I get some Zoom little thumbs up here? Yay, yay. Awesome, awesome. Yay, 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 yay. Any other questions, comments? I am going to throw out there, if you like what I had to share, or you like my style of sharing, yes, you can get on my email list. You can go to sandyboucher.com and sign up. You're going to get a video and a blog post every morning, Monday to Friday. I don't bug you on the weekends. Or yeah, go over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel because I do put out a video every single day and we talk about all this stuff and little bite-sized videos. So if you need some encouragement, there's like 700 videos on my channel. You can find what you need. So, oh, thank you, Kara. Aren't you just efficient? She just put my website up there for you.
I just wanted to say big Chimigwech for
Oh,
being here today and giving the knowledge that I think we all need to hear. I work in community and mainstream and with mainstream to help to build cultural safety for our
Yeah.
peoples. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And I really appreciate the fact that you just nailed home for everybody about our youth and
Yeah.
you know how we're constantly on them to focus, and they're just I've always said that we all know that they are our future, but knowing full well that they are doing these things and they have so many things thrown at them, far more than what we ever
Yeah.
had. And just to put it into perspective that to prove to them, look at you can do this, you got this. And it hits home for me because I have a child that is definitely going through it, and it's hard whenever you are trying to be a worker, but then a family member and a mom, and you can't do it all, and you got to get
Yeah.
them to see their light. And it's I wish I'm definitely going to take that forward in my working in community and with kids to remind people of that. So Chimigwech for that, because it is a flipping of the script that is really going to be beneficial to change that lens, because that's what we're doing. That's the work we're doing. We're changing lenses. So
Yeah.
big Chimigwech.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to share, Kara knows this, but I just wanted to share with the rest of you that two sides to the feather. I take that so seriously and put it into practice. I literally just came back from working with London Health Sciences Center. So I spend just as much time in non-Indigenous Canada teaching them how to respect us as I do empowering the First Nations. I make a point of balancing the feather because I believe that's what the future needs, the work on both sides. If you're in community, that's the side you focus on. If you're outside community, well, then get to that teacher role because they don't back-to-back teaching. They don't see things the way we do. And we need to help paint that picture so they can understand why things don't work for us the way they are. Oh, you're so welcome, Hannah. Hey, Gwench. We might be able to sneak in one more question if you talk fast. Last chance? Never last chance. By the way, Sandy at sandyboucher.com. If you ever have a question, just need a word of encouragement, email me. I may not be able to get right back to you if I'm in the seminar, but I answer every email. And it's not going to cost you a dime. That's what we do for each other. So don't forget that. So, Mary Jo.
I'm literally putting up my hand.
I
I'm
love
not gonna go back and
it.
forth. I know we're closing, but I just want to thank the Indigenous Primary Healthcare Council,
Yeah.
For coordinating this training. And I don't know, things pop up on my Facebook, and I always say for a reason because I seen it yesterday, and I'm like, I want to participate because I really I'm trying to do what I need to do for myself and be to participate in seminars and different sessions as it happens not only in the community but online. So I'll really keep an eye on IPHCC just to see further or future sessions. So miigwech again.
And Susie and Melissa, thank you so much. I see your comments in the chat. Miigwech. Yay!
Okay.
We did it.
Miigwech, Sandy, and everyone for joining and just being here today. As you said at the beginning, there's something that we're going to be walking away with today and something that we needed to hear. And I think everyone's resonating with that. And so, Miigwech on behalf of IPHCC, I also wanted to send just good thoughts to a colleague, Alyssa. She couldn't make it to join today, but has been doing all the coordinating
Yeah.
on the back end. And yeah, everyone have a great day and a good, safe, long weekend. Miigwech, everyone.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bumpy.
Miigwech, Bumapie.